This is going to be about a 30-minute video, so let me give you an overview of what I'll be talking about so that I don't waste your time. Feel free to put this on 2x speed, or you can scroll through the chapters in this video if you want to skip anything. So there's 5 main things that I'm going to walk you through. Number 1, my background and why I built this trading strategy the way that I did. Number 2, the actual trading strategy and all the logic and the data behind it. Number 3, what it actually looks like day to day to execute the strategy. Number 4, how and why I now work with clients on this strategy, their stories, and what their results look like. And lastly, number 5, if all this makes sense to you and you like it, what the next steps might be to actually start using the strategy. Before we jump in, I just want to give a disclaimer. This is not like a get rich quick thing whatsoever. I'm not going to be promising crazy 1000% returns or pretend this is how you get rich overnight and get your Lambo. What I can promise you is that I nor my team will never lie to you. Our reputation is our most valuable asset. I'm only 23 years old right now, so I have decades ahead of myself to protect my reputation. So I'd rather be honest and get fewer sales than lie, sell some fantasy, get a bunch of bad sales that only end up charging back or refunding and also leading to a bunch of negative reviews. So that said, let me tell you a bit about how this got started. And again, if you don't care about the story, you get bored and you just want to learn about the strategy, you can click below and skip. So it all starts honestly when I was 10 years old. That's when I met my now business partner and one of my best friends, Ryan. He was friends with my older brother at the time, in a band with him, and we kind of became brothers over the years. At first, just played a lot of video games, and honestly, I was pretty addicted to video games back then. But by the time I was 13, I kind of transformed that video game addiction into a skill set that made money. Because I was spending so much time on the computer, I was learning to code. I ended up building servers where other players would connect to my game and play. I'd build communities, hire staff, sell virtual perks. And from 13 to 15, I made about $12,000, which isn't too much money, but at the time it was pretty significant. I didn't need some summer job, and I kind of got a taste of what online business looks like and felt like. At around the same time, Ryan went off to college and he started trading pretty seriously. He was in a really competitive pre-med program, but really wasn't that interested in that anymore. He mostly went because he was pressured by society and his parents and whatnot, but mainly was interested in music and entrepreneurship. By age 22, he ended up making about $200K through trading and decided to drop out of college to pursue the entrepreneurship and music full time. And then that winter, he came home for the holidays and he saw what I was building and decided to introduce me to trading because he thought that I might like it. The first trade we ever made was for this stock called EA, which is the creator of a game called Battlefield, which was my favorite game at the time. We made like 10% on the trade. He gave me like a $80 commission and it just stuck with me. It planted a seed. From then on, for the next few years, he mentored me not only about trading, but also just how to be a good person. When I was a sophomore in high school, he actually offered a job for me if I dropped out. I was a little scared too, so I didn't. But when 2020, COVID came around, I was a senior and I was able to kind of get out of high school early. I still got my diploma and everything, but I was able to move to Philadelphia, begin working with him. Ryan invested in me, which allowed me to go all in on trading and not worry about where my money was going to come from. Around this time, Ryan hit a breaking point with his trading, making good money, but he was spending hours and hours and hours per day on it and didn't have the freedom to explore the music, career, and the other entrepreneurial things that he wanted to do. So he decided to step away from the trading and just live off the money that he had and just go all in on music and business. So that's when I really got to work because I saw that he lost such a valuable income stream just because it took so much time. And I kind of realized other people might have the same problem with trading. So that's why I really wanted to build an automated trading system or something that would just take very little time per day. I also kind of had the dream of moving to Hawaii because my dad brought me to Kauai every year growing up, and my dad had just moved there a few years before too. So I thought it'd be super cool if I could have a trading system where I kind of just spend a few minutes a day and then go to the beach. I also didn't have a ton of money to trade with, which is also why I figured if I can just build something that gets a good track record on a percentage basis, I can help other wealthier people make money with the system, collect fees for that, reinvest it into my trading account, etc. And obviously I'd be able to help Ryan reestablish that trading income. After about a year and a half, I was able to move to Hawaii. I wasn't making a ton of money from trading yet, but I established a good enough track record where I was confident to make the move. And I really felt strongly that everything would work out. And also I realized while I was in Hawaii on various trips, I felt much calmer, happier, and I made so much more progress on the business and on my trading because of that. So I felt like if I lived there full time, I could expedite my success. After about another year living in Hawaii, I had a long enough track record where I was confident to start accepting clients because I was living off the trading fully. Don't get me wrong, my expenses were only about like $2,400 a month. That's the only reason I was able to make the money through trading. If I had $20,000 of expenses per month, then I didn't have enough capital to actually do that. So over the next 8 months or so, I started trying all different types of ways to market myself. It was a real challenge, but but eventually had success on TikTok, videos took off, and I was able to enroll my first 10 clients. From there, Ryan saw a lot of ways that he could help now that I kind of got things off the ground. So he jumped in, we became full partners on it, and we've been working together ever since. So now that you know a little bit about us and our story, let me explain who this is actually for. To be clear, this is not for people who want to spend a lot of time trading. I know there are some people like that. And this is not for people who want to gamble on crazy meme stocks either. This was designed for busy people by busy people. This is for people who want to make more money with their money and actually unlock freedom by doing that, rather than having to spend hours per day trading and basically just creating a second job for themselves. So most of our clients are people who work full-time or run a business, a lot of business owners. They're people who want to grow their money without spending a lot of time doing it. And it's for people who are tired of guesswork, stressing about trades, and for people that just don't have a system but want a real edge in the market. So if any of that sounds like you, this was literally built for you. We've had clients who are doctors, people in tech, moms with young kids, real estate agents, and even nurses, people who barely have time for lunch, let alone staring at a stock price chart. And I've also had a handful of people who maybe just retired who always wanted to learn trading. So whether you're completely time crunched and you have absolutely no time, this can work for you. Or if you have time and you're actually interested in trading and you want to learn a lot, I can help you too. We would just go deeper with you. The reason it works for the people who have no time is because it's specifically designed to be simple and time efficient. Yes, I'm optimizing for high profit and low risk, but it's also designed to be time efficient. If this were like a hedge fund, I probably wouldn't care about that. I would just make it as profitable as possible. But because this is meant for time efficient people, that's just a whole nother factor that's gone into this. Now let me talk about a few of the clients that I've had and what the results were, what their stories were. I think one of my favorite stories was Jeff and Chase. They were probably like my 20th client. Jeff is in his 60s, pretty close to retirement. Chase, his son, was only 15 years old. So they kind of joined together as a father-son thing, which was really cool. They basically had no trading experience going into it, but on their first month, they made about $7,000, which was, I think, around an 8% return. So that's higher than average for the first month, but it was really great that it happened. And what was really cool about that is they were really into skiing. And Chase, the 15-year-old, he actually made about $300 one day skiing down a mountain. So he pulled out his phone, placed the trade before the market opened, and I'll get to the full process. And then he made a bunch of money. Another great client was Alexandra. She was a really successful psychologist coming into trading and had her own practice, multiple locations, no trading experience, but sent me this text a while back that she was on track to make 80% her first year, which was really great. And then there's Brand, who actually lives in the Netherlands. He had a bit of trading experience, but because of his time zone, it was difficult to trade US markets. But because our trading strategy was more time efficient and simple, he was able to be successful with it. Here's his review posted on the screen. And there's countless other people who left 5-star reviews. Right now, I think it counts at like 41. Someone's gonna be leaving one soon, so 42. And if you want to read them, the link's in the description. Point is, most of our clients probably started with less experience and less time than you have right now, but they were successful. They just needed something that was time efficient, simple, and actually was based on data and actually worked. So now I want to talk about how the trading system actually works and why it's so powerful. You may have seen some of this on my social media content already, but I'm just going to explain it from the top so that you fully understand it. It all starts by tracking when company insiders like CEOs or CFOs buy their own stock. Note that this is different from when politicians buy their own stock. Politicians have up to 45 days to make their filing, but insiders like CEOs only have 7 days, and usually they make their filing within 48 or 24 hours. Politicians, on the other hand, sometimes don't even make the filing because the laws that require them aren't really enforced. Because these executives know everything about their business, upcoming news that's going to come out, what the quarterly earnings reports are going to say, and because the filing window is so short, the insider buys send a really strong signal to the market, which under certain circumstances can drive a lot of excitement and cause the stock price to go up in response to that insider purchase. The other way to make money with this is by understanding that sometimes insiders buy before releasing positive news. It's illegal for them to do that, but they still do it sometimes. So we can filter through the stocks to find which are those instances, but that's a bit tricky. So my preferred way to make money with this information is just to filter through the insider buys with what I call a double filtration process, looking for the stocks that people are going to get most excited about, and therefore which stocks will have the most reliable price increase. In terms of how we actually select the stocks, we use what I call a double filtration process. There's basically 2 layers to it. The first one's automated and the second one is manual. And these are mostly psychological filters because, again, we're looking for stocks that people are going to get most excited about. So some of these are pretty simple. Number one, just who bought the stock? Was it a new insider that no one really knows about, Joe Schmo, random CEO? Or was it a very prominent investor? Like, I know a lot of people don't like Elon Musk, but obviously is really respected in the stock market. He's very influential. When he bought Twitter, for instance, that stock exploded just because it was him buying. Also, just recently, Toyota, the I think largest vehicle maker in the world, bought into this small startup called JOBY, which is developing flying cars. The stock exploded. I think it was 20% the very next day because it's Toyota. Another thing I look at, it's kind of similar, is how many insiders actually bought into the stock this day. Was it just the CEO, or was it the CEO, CFO, and other directors? Another filter is it a repeat buy? This is when the stock has already had insider purchases recently. What the data shows is that the fresh buys, where insiders haven't bought recently, generates a more reliable price increase. The reason I think this is the case is because when the fresh insider buys come out, the stock usually jumps. So then if insiders buy again a few days later, traders look at that and say the stock already went up, and so buying in here would be more risky versus if the stock hadn't reacted to any insider buy yet. Another really important metric I look at is called ATR, which stands for average trading range. This is basically how much the stock goes up or down per day on average. Some stocks might only go up or down 3% per day, think something like Apple, which is stable, or there could be some crazy pharmaceutical company that goes up or down on average 30% a day. What's interesting is in the data, we can see that the higher the average trading range, the more profit potential there is and the more rare the trade is. So for example, 50% of stocks with insider buys have an average trading range of under 5%. And meanwhile, these trades only contribute to 10% of the strategy's profit. Meanwhile, stocks with a 15% ATR or higher make up only 20% of the trades, but 50% of the profit. So I focus on quality over quantity, and that means I disqualify those stocks with less than 5% ATRs. Another thing I think about with ATR is like, why would a stock have a 20% ATR versus a 5% ATR? And the answer to that is that if a stock has a 20% ATR in the past 5 days, for example, that means that recently the stock's been very reactive to news, because stocks don't just go up 20% up or down per day for no reason. So that means in the past 5 days, the stock's been very reactive to news. And then I can kind of assume, okay, if this insider buy is reported, which is another piece of news, the stock will probably be pretty reactive to it. But if the stock's only had a 3% ATR recently, then it hasn't been very reactive to anything, so it's less likely that this insider buy will be reacted to as well. Another thing I look at is the liquidity of the stock, which is the ability to buy and sell easily. It's based on two variables called trading volume and spread. Trading volume is basically how much money is flowing through the stock in a given day, and the volume requirement is anywhere from $30 million to $300 million per day. The reason for that $30 million minimum is because if there's less money flowing through that per day, it's going to be hard to buy and sell easily, which is risky if you're trading with a lot of money. And the reason for the $300 million cap is that stocks with more than that in volume tend to have a lot going on. All different types of things are affecting it. What Trump's tweeting, what China's doing, just all these macro things. And on top of that, you need a lot more money to flow into a 300 million plus volume stock in order to actually push it up, meaning that insider buy has to create more excitement, which is just less likely. Under certain circumstances, we do trade the higher volume stocks if enough parameters are met. For example, when Elon bought into Twitter, that stock had billions of dollars per day in volume, but it still did well. Another thing about the higher volume stocks is that they're more institutional. So you're competing against larger firms versus just amateur traders. For example, some hedge fund with $10 billion under management can't even trade the $50 million per day in volume stocks because they have too much money. So besides trading volume, like I mentioned, spread is also really important to measure liquidity. Spread is the difference between where you can buy and sell a stock at any given moment. For example, Apple probably has a spread of like 0.2 or 0.1%, maybe even less, where you could buy at $100 a share and then sell at like 99.9. This happens when there's a lot of activity in that stock and there's a good consensus of where to buy and sell at. But high spread stocks mean that there's less consensus, less activity, and it's harder to get in and out at a good price, which just increases the risk. And on top of that, if you think about what our strategy is, it's really important that there's a lot of activity in the stock at the time because we want people to react to that insider buy. If the stock has a high spread, that means not many people are looking at the stock and trading it, which means the stock's less likely to react to the insider buy. So one more thing I'll mention is that I look at market-wide insider activity as well. I track the total number of insider buys per day, and what the data shows is that if there's abnormal spikes in insider volume, that indicates that there's panic in the market and it's best to not trade that day. For example, during the COVID crash, insider buying spiked about 10x the average, and obviously the market was crashing then. And then there's been other market crashes too, where you can just clearly see insider buying picked up, and that would have been a great time to skip trading. So moving forward, I have a bot that just tracks the total number of insider buys, and if it spikes past the abnormal amount, then I skip. So that's a bit of the filters. Honestly, if I went through all of them, it would take me like hours. Happy to do that for you if you want on like a phone call or something, but for now, let's just move on to layer 2 of the double filtration system, which is my manual review. So basically, after all the insider buys come in from the Securities Exchange Commission at 9:30, the bot runs, and then basically it develops an AI trade plan, which explains what stocks are qualified and which ones are disqualified and why. Then I read through that and write up my own manual trade plan, adding some extra notes and just confirming the trade overall. Automating everything with AI is cool, but this is our money on the line. It's your money, it's my money. And so I'd rather spend the extra 30 minutes confirming everything and making sure it's good rather than just completely relying on the automation. In terms of how to actually act on this information, there's 2 ways to do it. One of them is fully automated and one of them is slightly manual but very time efficient. If you want to do the fully automated way, all you have to do is log into our software, which is on the screen right here, and then you just click enable on the trade, which fully automates everything. The buy, the sell, the stop loss placement, etc. Or if you prefer to set it up manually, you have about 12 hours of lead time. So before you go to bed or before the market opens in the morning, you just open your trading platform, go to the stock, input the stop loss from the AI trade plan, and then just click buy. From there, the stock will be bought at market open, it'll place the stop loss, and then the trade will be fully managed. And basically, as part of this program, I'm going to provide one-on-one coaching to help you make sure that you set that up and not make any mistakes. Also, after the trade's done, we meet up as a group. This is optional, but it can be really helpful to ask questions, go over the trade, brainstorm together on ways to improve the system, etc. Now, in terms of quantity of trading, because we're so selective, we only trade about 3 or 4 times per month on average, depending on which strategy variant you're going with. That might seem kind of boring, but it's actually a huge advantage in my opinion, because fewer trades means less screen time, obviously, lower market exposure, and less risk of being caught up in a market crash. Because we don't trade that much, we have very low market correlation. We've had years like 2022 where the stock market crashed 30%, but we still made 40%. That's because we're not constantly in the market. That said, we can still lose money when the market's going up. We can make money when the market goes down. It's not like we're making money all the time. It's just that we don't need the market to go up to make money. And overall, you have really good liquidity with this system. You can trade other strategies while you're not trading ours and do whatever you want to do with it. So now let's talk numbers. What are the actual results for the system? On the screen now is a list of every single stock that the bot has qualified over the years, the good and the bad ones. As you can see, over the last 5 years, for the most conservative variant, the system's averaged about 5% per month. This is with relatively low drawdowns and very minimal time commitments. In the description of this video, you can go to this website I'm showing and just go through all the different trades. You can verify that they actually happened, etc. Because of these results, we've maintained that 5-star rating on Trustpilot. I know that everyone says this, but I hope that you can see I'm being genuine when I say that we truly care about our clients and their success and our reputation, like I said earlier. Ryan and I have spent years really trying to perfect this system as much as we can, because we know that most people are just selling fake strategies that don't work, and we want to be the guys that actually provide something useful that works and that can actually help people. So this is a well-tested system and it's built to last. I can't guarantee that it will work forever, but I'm going to do my best to optimize it and maintain it over time. And I'm holding myself accountable to that. If we were to work together with every client, we have a clause in our contract that says if you have 3 negative consecutive months, then you get a full refund. On the screen now, you can see the contract, how it's written. It's very clear cut. So what happens next? If this sounds like something that might fit your goals and your lifestyle, then we're open to talking with you more about becoming a client. The next step would be to schedule what we call a 2-way interview with my co-founder, Ryan. This is where you get to learn more about us, our story, our system, and just see who we are as people. See if you want to work with us. And it's also an opportunity for us to learn more about you, your goals, your experience, your expectations, and make sure that you're level-headed, no offense. We really want to work with people who understand the long term and aren't afraid of temporary drawdowns, for instance. If it's a match, we'll invite you to the program, send you the contract for your review, and just give you all the time you need in order to make a decision. And we don't do any hard selling or pressuring. If it's not right for you, there's absolutely no worries. We'll point you in another direction that we think makes sense for you. But if it is, again, we'll be happy to invite you to the team. Now, to be clear, this is not some cheap program that's $50 or $500 or something. It's a 4 to 5 figure investment, depending on your exact needs. We often do custom deals depending on what you actually want. From my research, we're one of the most expensive trading services out there, but that's so that we can provide a world-class experience and get as close to guaranteeing your success as we can. When you join us, you receive everything I've talked about and shown you on this video, access to my insider buying trading system as I optimize it and maintain it over time, the AI trade plans, the double filtration AI bot, the manual trade plans, our Discord community so you can talk with me and other clients, the one-on-one coaching, the trade recap group coaching, access to my personal cell phones that you can contact me anytime that you need help, if it's an emergency or just a question. And I think most importantly, a team that actually cares about your success and who you can actually trust. So if you're ready to explore more and you have not booked a call yet, you can click the link in the description below to do that. If you've already spoken with one of our team members and you booked that time, then we're really excited to meet you and see if we can help. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.